Sindel has broken Mortal Kombat 1 and officially become the most unfair character in the entire game. And until NetherRealm fixes things with an update, she's going to remain that way. As it stands right now, Sindel is the most cheap character in the game. And I'm just here to say, I told you so. Literally the first day we got gameplay for Sindel on the Kombat Cast stream by NetherRealm Studios, I was saying she looked unfair, that she looked overpowered. The fact she can call her cameo character more often than everybody else's and disable your cameo makes her way too good. And at the time, I was only being half serious. Yeah, she did look overpowered, but at the same time, you don't know for sure until the game's out. And unfortunately, once again, I've been vindicated because it turns out that Sindel has an infinite loop in Mortal Kombat 1. That's right, if she touches you once, she can loop you until you're dead, and the death happens really quickly. Believe it or not, infinites are somewhat common in fighting games, especially when the game first releases, but Sindel's is exceptional and unique in its own way, so today I wanted to talk about it. And hopefully by the time you're watching this video, it's already been fixed and can no longer be done in the game. Fingers crossed. In fact, leave a like down below to remove this infinite. Alright, but why does this infinite work? How is Sindel able to keep hitting you until you die and there's no way to escape it? Well, believe it or not, there's actually 3 different reasons. For starters, the game itself limits how many floats Sindel can do in the same combo, which should be a good thing and theoretically prevent any infinites from happening. However, ironically enough, it does the opposite. Instead, Sindel can actually use this exploit to guarantee this combo and keep it looping until you're dead. Next up, we have the cameo partners. If paired with certain characters, like Sub-Zero for example, Sindel can actually force her float to land a 3rd time, and ironically what this does is actually reset the combo, and you're not able to block it. That's the key issue here. The game actually resets the combo but doesn't let you block it, which means she can do the loop over again. Already that's really scary if you're the opponent, but the good news is every cameo character in this game has a meter, and you can't summon them more than twice before they have to recharge, right? So in theory, Sindel should only be able to do this loop twice before her cameo has to recharge, right? Wrong! Because like mentioned earlier, Sindel is the only character in the game who can make her cameo refill even faster than normal. And because Sindel can do this and reduce the time it takes to refill her cameo character, she can loop this 3 times in the same combo. And before the 3rd loop is even done, your character is going to already be dead. And those 3 reasons are why Sindel's infinite is possible in Mortal Kombat 1. But don't you worry, because things get even worse. There's one more factor that makes this infinite especially cheap. Believe it or not, Sindel does not need any meter to get this infinite to happen, or in other words, she can do it at the very start of the round, and even if she fails to get it right away, at some point during the match, she is going to hit you and make this infinite possible. It does not cost any resources, she can land it at the very start of the match. This infinite from Sindel requires literally no resources. Even other games like Dragon Ball FighterZ require sparking to get a 100% damage combo, right? And that's a good thing, because sparking can only be done once during a match, and even other crazy tag fighting games like Marvel still require a bunch of meter to pull off the infinite, so you can't just do them right away at round start. But once again, Sindel is the exception. She can start this infinite at the very start of the round, and it's actually really easy to loop, and it kills the opponent really quickly. And don't forget, this infinite is only possible because Sindel can reduce the amount of time it takes to get her cameo partner back. Which means, in a tiny way, I was correct when I said Sindel's ability to increase how fast she gets her cameo could make her overpowered, or at least a top 5 character. But as mentioned earlier, infinites are actually nothing new to fighting games. In fact, even some modern fighting games still have infinites. However, Sindel's is way more toxic and cheap than most infinites, and that's because the fact that it's a loop and not a regular infinite. Real quick, a brief fighting game lesson, alright? Don't freak out, it's not gonna be boring and educational, I'm gonna keep it quick and exciting, alright? Here we go. In pretty much every fighting game, the longer a combo goes on for, the less damage every hit starts to deal. And as a result, even if you keep the combo going on for a very long time, each hit starts doing such low damage that it's not even worth it at that point. This is why in many fighting games, going for the infinite isn't even a good option most of the time, because the timer could actually run out before you manage to kill the opponent, or you drop the combo because it's going on for so long and you just can't keep something going forever, right? Or at the very least, it's going to take you a really long time to win the round, and maybe the opponent can actually build combo breaker and get free, right? That should be what happens, but once again, Sindel is the exception because the game does not treat this infinite as one long combo. Don't forget that her float causes the combo counter to reset. Even though you can't escape it, the the combo's not going to stop, it just keeps looping, and every time the combo restarts, the damage scaling resets too, or in other words, her attacks keep dealing a good amount of damage during the entire infinite. And that's what makes Sindel's infinite especially scary. It can kill the opponent really quickly before they even have time for combo breaker. But now's the part where I make this video interactive, and I really do want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Because funny enough, I've heard two opposing opinions when watching videos on this infinite. On the one hand, most players believe that this infinite is cheap and should be removed from the game. Literally, as soon as possible, it needs to be removed because it's simply unfair and an exploit. And moreover, they also assert that if you use this infinite to win a match, then you are a coward because you are purposely exploiting something in the game that's not meant to exist, and the infinite itself is simply cheap. And for the most part, I honestly do agree with that opinion. However, a surprising amount of players feel the opposite. They believe it's okay to use this infinite because it's in the game, and since they paid for the game, they can use it to do whatever they want. Simply put, they believe if it's in the game, then it's okay to use it. It's not their fault as a player to use the game for something that's possible in the game. And for the most part, this tends to be the opinion of older fighting game players, right? People who grew up in the arcades, back when games were actually really unbalanced. Believe it or not, back in the day, fighting games were actually unbalanced and actually unfair. There were actually bottom tier characters that were super hard to win with. To any Sub-Zero players watching this who think their character is terrible and impossible to get wins with, you would destroy everything in your house if you had to play 12 in Third Strike, or if you had to play Dan in Vanilla Street Fighter 4, or Ruro and Kuro in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. My point is, older fighting games were simply busted in a variety of ways, and the updates were not coming anytime soon. And as a result, as the player, you simply had to accept that the game was the way it was, and no changes were coming anytime soon, so just deal with it. If your favorite character in the game was bad, then you had to deal with it and get good with the character anyway, or simply move on to a different character who could get wins more easily. And more importantly, on the flip side, if your favorite character was insanely good, then that was okay as well because it's simply how the game was, and that's not your fault. You paid for the game just like everybody else, or you put your quarter in just like everybody else, so you can use your money to play the game how you wanted, and your opponent just had to deal with it. Whether your preferred character was really good or really bad, it's simply how the game was, and it wasn't going to get fixed anytime soon, so simply deal with it. And believe it or not, some Mortal Kombat 1 players feel this way too. It's not their fault for playing Sindel and doing a really cheap infinite that's super easy to do. Instead, it's simply NetherRealm's fault for not fixing the game already, and also not noticing this infinite before the game was released. It's up to them to fix it, but until then, the player can use Sindel to get as many easy and cheap wins as they want to, because that's how the game is, and they paid for it, so they can do what they want. For me personally, you already know how I feel on this issue, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and also be nice to everybody, okay? Keep it civil, don't get into any really heated discussions over a video game, alright? It's just not worth it, fam, okay? Keep it calm, keep it collected, but you can debate a little bit, that should be fine, right? But once again, I'm just curious because I've heard both opposing opinions, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And then while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, it really does help my channel out a ton, and then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.